Hello again, this is Nathaniel Sewell. Of course, you know I use a pen name, so that's not really my name, as I said in another video, but I think it's kind of a fun through pattern to kind of make light of that. I don't want to be fancy, and I don't want to be arrogant or uptight or any of that sort of nonsense. I just do it, as you can find out from another video, why I did it the way I did it. At any rate, I want to talk about book theme, how I came up with my novels. I'm going to talk about each one of them. This one's going to be AMANITA, which was published, I think, in 2019. Also, the book title, how I came up with AMANITA, and then again, also the book cover. I think the book cover, as many would tell you, should tell the story without telling the story. Subsequently, I'll talk about back of the book. We'll go through those. I think that's kind of fun too. But for these videos, I just want to talk about, keep it simple, about theme. First off, if you're watching this and you want to be a writer or you want to be a creative person, don't let fear stop you. Do it. Just get out there and give it your best shot. You're going to get people to criticize you. You're going to get people say ugly things to you. Most of them are just idiots, and they'll never do anything in life. So don't worry about them. You focus on you, and again, don't let fear stop you. I've been doing this a long time now. Nobody's heard of me, but the folks that work with me on my web page and other marketing kind of suggested I come on YouTube and start explaining my books, my novels, my short stories, and even my poems. Because to them it kind of comes alive and they can kind of see a face with a name now. And so I get it. So I wanted to talk this time about AMANITA. And hopefully the book cover will pop up on the screen here for about 5 seconds. AMANITA I wrote, quite frankly, out of anger. Pure anger. Let me tell you the story. I used to insure hospitals, the entire hospital system. All the employees, all the physicians, all of it. Some were quite large, some were right in the middle. But about a decade ago, I had a hospital that, I'll keep it short and simple, was doing something that I thought didn't add up, or they may have been doing something and they weren't aware of what was really going on, and that relates to the opioid crisis. That is beyond the pale to me what that family did, that Sackler family. There are a couple of really good, I guess, documentaries that are out there. One called Painkiller with Michael Keaton. It's very good. I think it's on Hulu. And then, no, let me back up. Painkiller was Peter Berg. But the Michael Keaton was Dope Sick, excuse me. Both are very good if you want to learn about the opioid crisis and how dangerous fentanyl is and what they've been doing to it. So I get divorced. I move back to St. Pete, and I get to know some people, and they get to find out that I'm a writer. And they found out about some other books like Bobby Socks and that sort of thing. And one of my friends, older friend, who'd like to give me a hard time, he challenged me to write a story, and he said, this story will have the character Artemis Lamb, and that happens to be his initials, so I laughed. What he didn't know was he gave me the seed to write AMANITA, and I wrote it as a satire. It's out there a little bit. The basic theme being that Artemis Lamb is a medical malpractice insurance investigator. Okay, I might know a thing or two about that. And she happens to also be an assassin, sort of a Star Chamber thought process here. Her job was to go out and find people that were doing these bad things, in this case, fentanyl. So I took fentanyl and I recreated it. I put a little bioengineering spin to it, where she comes to find out that the medical director of the hospital is studying mycelia and all sorts of different mushrooms. And he was changing the genetic structure, which, whether you know it or not, mushrooms are very similar to, about 50% close to human DNA. And so you can mess around with it. And there's a lot of things they're using with today. They use packaging which is very green energy or green product because it can just disappear. Whether you know it or not, mycelia are underneath your feet wherever you're walking. That kingdom is 10 times the size of the plant, the plant and animal kingdom. You know, the old point is if a dog dies out in the middle of the woods, you see it, you leave it alone, you come back a year later and it's gone except for the bones. Where'd all that go? Well, that's where it goes. It goes to the mycelia, and they break it down. That's how it works. But in Amanita, I have two characters that are one's sort of evil and one's really evil. One is peddling fentanyl out on one side of the hospital. The other is a drug dealer. And what he figured out how to do is to modify mushrooms and lace them with fentanyl and heroin. Literally, it would propagate unlimited underneath your feet and it would go everywhere. So she finds this and she's going to have to deal with it. But the problem is for Artemis is a clairvoyant. So part of her investigation would go to the local cemetery. You know, they say dead people tell no tales. So that's what she goes to do right out of the beginning of the story. But she runs across Satan. Satan's waiting for her. And Satan doesn't like Artemis Lamb for some reason. She can't quite figure it out. But he starts to toy with her throughout the story, even all the way to the ending of the story. So the theme is about fentanyl and my imagined solution for some of these people that were involved with it. You know, a little bit of a John Grisham riff there, if you know what I'm talking about. But that was the basic theme. So how to come with a title? Well, I was investigating, and that's kind of how I roll, mushrooms. And Amanita is, if you go in and Google it, it is the first name of the scientific name for a certain strain of mushrooms. In this case, death cap mushrooms. I'll show a little image of it over my face here in about a second. So you've probably seen those before in lore and all sorts of different folklore and other stories. They're all over the world, and they pop up freely in forests and all sorts of places. So I thought that would be a perfect metaphor for how to transport and alter fentanyl to really attack humanity. And she's got to deal with that. And Satan set that all up. So the book cover is a little girl, and she's in the middle of a forest, and above it is her face, which you've seen here. So you think, her name must be Amanita. It's a little bit of a trick there. No, her name's not Amanita, but she represents innocence. You look at her in the middle of the forest, and she looks completely innocent, little girl, wouldn't harm anybody, but she's surrounded by danger in the form of the mycelia, in the form of a lot of evil going on around her in where she lives. So that's kind of the trick with the book cover and the book title. I think that's interesting to delve into from a creative standpoint. How do you come up with book titles? How do you come up with these themes? How do you come up with, the cover itself? And really, it's not a trick. It's just a lot of work, and you don't filter yourself. Like I said before, don't fear being a creative person. You can go out and do this, particularly now. I mean, 20 years ago when I first tried to get into the literature world, it was very difficult. It was very blocked. But now it's wide open. If you write a good book, first and foremost, be a professional. Go through all the processes to learn how to do it, and you'd be surprised at what you can do if you really put your mind to it. I mean, I'm 59 years old. I have nothing to be really that concerned about these days. As they say, I've lived most of my life, so I'm just happy to share and happy to kind of tell you how I come up with stuff. And I can tell you, I don't really know most of the time. It just sort of finds me, I guess, in some ways, that conscious and non-conscious stuff. But I really liked my character, Artemis Lamb. She is an assassin. But what really is interesting is, why doesn't Satan just kill her? Well, I can't answer that for you because that would ruin the book, wouldn't it? But in closing, just again, don't be afraid. Go out there and and chase your dream if you want to, if that's a dream. But I would tell you, it's not a dream anymore if you take action. Now you're doing something to take yourself to another place. And I think you'll enjoy the journey. I think you'll never regret it. Just take it from me, Nathaniel Sewell. And if you want a copy of one of my books, I'm happy to share. I give away hundreds of books, if not thousands, and I'm just sharing. My hope is that somebody will read it and like it and decide maybe to publicize it or something. You never know. As I said in one of my other videos, always remember the question, I never know. Because if you ask yourself that question, you might find that it leads you to where you really want to go, and you'll have a big smile on your face, and you'll go, I did that. So with that, best of luck. Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll talk to you soon.